Everybody get up, it's time to sew now. We got a real jam going down. Welcome to the Trace Jam. Here's your chance, do your dance at the Trace Jam. Alright. Hello folks. Welcome to another video with me, Stephanie Canada, the owner of Backroom Finds. I'm passionate about vintage, sewing, and not taking myself too seriously. If that sounds like you're a bag of cats, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and make sure you come back every Tuesday and Friday, because that's when I upload. Huzzah! In today's video, I will be sharing with you my first endeavor into tracing out vintage sewing patterns. That's right, friends. I have sold sewing patterns for nearly 10 years, and I have never, not once, traced one out before. But today, friends, that changes. I'm gonna bring with me my years of experience analyzing patterns and my anal retentive attention to detail. And you get to come along for the ride. I will be tackling two styles of vintage sewing patterns today. The first is going to be Simplicity 3932, which is a single size lined pattern. So closer to what we use today, but instead of multi-line, you only have one. Now what I have to do here is I have to actually reconstruct a corner that has completely disintegrated, well, almost disintegrated, so that I can use it on a future project or a future video. Whoops, I should probably do that. And for this one, I'm going to be using Pellon number I don't really know because I found it in the bottom of a closet at an estate sale for 25 cents. Hey. The second pattern I will be tracing out today is Butterick number 4073. This is an unprinted pattern from the 1940s. Now the size on the top was torn away, so I did have to physically measure it. And with accounting for ease, it is a bust 40. Yeah, I was really excited too. Now, am I a bust 40? Haha, no. So there will be some sizing up later, which I also haven't done. But that, friends, is for another video. As we're going along here, if you have any tips and tricks about how to trace out patterns, please feel free to add them down in the comments, because I have a lot of learning to do. Now, should one of these tracing methods interest you more than the other, I'm going to pop up some timestamps so that you guys can hop to the one that you'd prefer to see. Or if you just want to see me faltering and do both of them, please continue through. So let's grab our coffee and get tracing. Welcome back to my kitchen table, friends. And because I have a small child, it is disgusting. So my first step is cleaning. The materials I used for this project are tracing paper, the kind with little letters and numbers. Pellon 815 is what I figured out online, the kind with the little red dots. My Pilot Friction erasable pen. Friction? I don't know. My paper cutting scissors. My yardstick. The Parisian Tailor dress cutter circa 1897, which was wholly unnecessary. Of course, you can't forget your patterns. And pattern weights, which you'll see later. I definitely had to get creative because these little guys didn't quite cut it. First up is going to be the lined pattern piece and the Pellon, which I'm going to lay on top of it. Quick note, I did iron all these before doing it, but I ironed them about 2 days in advance, so it didn't work perfectly, but it's better than nothing. I do advise you iron every pattern piece before you attempt to trace it. You'll see why. I thought that of the two, this would be the more difficult because I was having to reconstruct that corner that had disintegrated. I was incorrect. This was by far the easier of the two. And of course I'm not using my pattern paper as a weight for the giant skirt piece. I don't know what you're talking about, she says. You do have to carefully make sure that you are marking all of those notches, the straight of grain, what pattern it is, what pattern piece it is, and what size. That way you don't pull your hair out in case it gets lost between your kitchen and your sewing room. Then, leaving myself about a ½ inch away from my lines, I cut it out with my paper cutting scissors, which is easier said than done, because they are dull. One down, one to go, and some more coffee. Now for the unprinted one, I did double check the instructions before I did absolutely anything to make sure that the seam allowance was included in the pattern piece I was looking at. Because if I had laid all these out and it didn't have the seam allowance, that would have sucked. My goal when laying these out was to use as little of the pattern tracing paper as possible, and I did manage to only use about 1 yard and 10 inches of it by laying all the pieces as close as possible. I didn't bother to cut them out because I just wanted to trace the pattern, not necessarily use it in this very moment. And it's easier to not lose things if you don't cut them apart. And if you've met me, I lose things very easily. Now, the one problem I did run into with this one was that I had indeed ironed it 2 days prior. So it's an 80-year-old pattern. It didn't really want to stay nice and flat the way I had ironed it, so I was having to finagle and make sure all the creases were not warping my pattern piece. The other thing I was extra making sure was that I'm getting all of the circles and all of the notches in these pattern pieces, because each and every single one of them means something immense. It's not just the little lines that you draw. It is every notch, every triple dot. Make sure you are tracing every single one of them. Don't miss a single one, or your garment is not going to look the way you want it to. Now, thankfully, these patterns were both fully complete. However, if you do occasionally find yourself with extra pattern pieces or missing pattern pieces and not sure what it goes to, I show you how to organize pattern pieces in this video in the card above. And of course, once we get to the larger pieces, I run into the fact that my couple of pattern weights don't do diddly. So I did have to get creative and use my Mickey Mouse coasters and my Mickey Mouse trivet that I put my hot things on. After I had cleaned them all, of course. And while I am using my lovely Friction pen, because it does leave no trace once it is ironed, you do want to make sure that as soon as you are done using your tracing, you want to come back on it with a Sharpie or a pencil or something that doesn't disappear with heat. Because if the first time you go to iron this flat is after you've used this pen, you will erase every single mark you made. And that you can't get back. I wouldn't know that. No. Well, now that that's over, how do you get that pin off of the pattern pieces? I am so glad you asked. Now you see it? Now you don't. It's like magic. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed watching me fumble my way through that one. If you did, go ahead and click that like button. If you'd like to see more from me, go ahead and click that subscribe button, being sure to hit that bell for post notifications. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see y'all next time. Apparently there's a theme going on today. I didn't mean to style my hair looking like Ray. I did mean to bring my BB-8 mug, but we're just going with a full space theme today, so I'm going with it. That's what I'm here for. All the snark. In today's video, that's a good start. Forget what you say 3 words in. The second pattern I will be doing... The second pattern I will be tracing out today is going to be eyeball. The second pattern I will be... The second pattern I will be tracing out. The second pattern I'll be tracing out today is a completely unprinted pattern because there's... No, actually there are unprinted, pre-printed, damn it. The second pattern I will be tracing... The second pattern... BB-8 is so deep, he's hard to get to the coffee. It's like down here. BB, coffee, BB, coffee. Hey, check out the lipstick. Why do I do these things to myself?
Because it's hilarious and you know
it is. Yeah, if that's not good, I'm not using it. Like, literally,
it's good.
one take.
No,
Not doing that again.